This tutorial is going to take a look at how the hormonal system or the endocrine system, the number of glands and hormones, have an impact on controlling our metabolism or our metabolic rate. So when we're looking at metabolism, we're talking about the rate at which different reactions are occurring inside of our body, with one of the most important ones being aerobic respiration, cell respiration in general, to produce ATP and also to give off some heat. So we're looking at how hormones in the endocrine system can control rate of reactions such as aerobic respiration inside of our body. So we're going to look at this as a bit of a cycle. It's another sort of example of a negative feedback loop. And it starts off with the hypothalamus. So the first thing that's going to occur here is the hypothalamus is going to detect when something called thyroxine, a hormone called thyroxine, it's going to detect when thyroxine levels fall. Now, what thyroxine levels do is when they are higher, they're going to lead to a faster metabolic rate. When they're lower, they're going to lead to a lower metabolic rate. So the hypothalamus is going to be detecting this and going to ensure that if thyroxine levels fall too low, it's going to start the process of stimulating them to increase. So this will become clearer as we go through this cycle. So we've got the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is a location in the brain where these receptors are going to detect a drop in thyroxine. So the hypothalamus, what it's going to do is if thyroxine levels fall, it's going to lead to the release of something called thyrotropin releasing hormone. So low thyroxine levels lead to the hypothalamus making thyrotropin releasing hormone, which is then going to make its way to the pituitary gland. So there's a few steps involved in this process. Once we get the pituitary gland involved, the pituitary gland is then going to secrete something called thyroid stimulating hormone. Now once this occurs, the thyroid stimulating hormone is going to make its way to the thyroid gland and interact with the thyroid gland, causing the release of, like I mentioned earlier, thyroxine. So what thyroxine is going to do is the thyroxine levels are going to increase, and that's going to start to speed up or increase our metabolic rate, so increase the rate that things like cell respiration are occurring. And then what we're going to get is ultimately this negative feedback to the hypothalamus. It's going to detect that thyroxine levels have increased, so it's going to slow its production of thyrotropin releasing hormone, which will lead to the pituitary gland slowing the thyroid stimulating hormone. The thyroid gland will slow its production of thyroxine, and our base metabolic rate will start to slow, and this will keep these things will keep it at a nice, hopefully, equilibrium, depending on the type of conditions, exercise, that kind of thing that we're involved in.